and we're live, and we're not talking about authoritarianism today, because, folks, it is, what is it, Wednesday, the 28th of January, the year of our Lord 2026. It
This
is
is
8
not the year of
o'clock
our Lord.
a.m. 8 o'clock a.m. in Washington, D.C. It is 3 o'clock p.m. in Kiev, where I am sitting in a cafe with a knocked out on the table, sleeping Anastasia Lapatina, who will not be showing up on the show today because she is asleep, literally asleep on the table, although she is giggling. Uh, it is, and we're tired because we've been, delivering batteries at night and running around town. And Nastia's particularly knocked out because she's got, also a baby, and she's been kind of managing my schedule while I'm here. And so we're just going to ignore her, even though she's here, and let her rest before our next meeting, for which we are going to have to break this show up a little bit early. And so I got a text this morning from the estimable Holly Berkeley Fletcher, who was trying to make a hard decision, which was whether to get up. And often in Holly's case, the question of whether to be on the show is really a question of whether to get out of bed. If she's going to get out of bed, she'll show up on the show. If she wants to sleep, she's not going to do so much showing up on the show. And so Mike Feinberg responded to her, and I'm summarizing our text exchange here. What are we going to talk about? And I said, whatever you guys want. And Mike Feinberg said he didn't want to talk about authoritarianism because he has done so many media hits about authoritarianism over the last 72 hours that he just doesn't want to talk about it anymore. And I said, okay, then we won't talk about authoritarianism. And then Holly said, okay, then I'll get up. And that is an explanation of why 3.5 of us are here. That is 3 visible and 1 who is not visible. But here's the thing. None of us is going to be talking about authoritarianism. One
But
of
you
us,
forgot
because
the last part, which is when I said I didn't know how to not talk about authoritarianism
that's
anymore.
that's true. And I said that you'll be fine, Holly. I believe in you. And Nastia sent a picture of Ronald Reagan of Donald Trump giving somebody the finger, and said that we shouldn't, people shouldn't keep telling her that women are too emotional to be leaders. And so, and that's really the state of play. So we have 3 of us who are here not talking about authoritarianism, and 1 of us who's like asleep on the table not talking about authoritarianism, but all of which is just to say that at least in Kiev, the sun is not shining. It's cloudy and overcast, and for the 3rd day in a row. And by the way, the St. Sophia Cathedral was shrouded in fog this morning. It was quite beautiful. So I can't say the sun is shining, though it may be in Washington. The birds were chirping, and it is already here a great fucking day, and you are watching Dog Shirt TV.
You're watching Dog Shirt TV, a forking revolution in morning television. Dog Shirt
It's around today.
It's around.
morning television.
You are watching Dog Shirt TV, and it is a forking revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features is that every now and then we don't talk about authoritarianism. And another one of the revolutionary features is that some of us may not know how to do that, but we're going to try. They're going to try. We're going to believe in them. And still another of the revolutionary features is that we made no decisions about what we were going to talk about, just what we weren't, all of which is a long-winded, and I want to say a 5-minute long-winded way of saying that we are not allowed to have fun anymore, but we are allowed to get together at 8 o'clock in the morning, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon and not talk about authoritarianism. So, Holly, what do you have to say on any subject that is not authoritarianism?
Well, I fear what's going to happen here is that Mike, you and Mike are going to be talking about um, obscure literary references and independent films and things that I don't know anything about. And then I'm going to like severely regret my choice to get out of bed. And at that point, I might go back to bed. But,
Well, I think
um,
you need to seize the agenda of the conversation
well,
by
I do have
defining.
one. I have one thing to share before we get to black and white film French documentaries or whatever it is that Mike's gonna bring.
We can't. My favorite black and white French documentary is actually about authoritarianism, so it's off the table.
The sorrow and the pity, of
Yeah, I'm
course.
sorry.
Yeah.
I've seen it like six. Not to sound like a character out of Annie Hall, but I've seen that movie easily 10 times.
Mike, you would bet buckle under torture right away. They'd just take your credit card and you'd fold.
So regarding the situation, which we will not mention, you've literally seen that movie before, and it's a
The
French
Sorrow-
documentary.
The Sorrow and the Pity? Yeah, I own it. I mean, I have the
It's called
Blu-ray in
The
the other
Sorrow
room.
and the Pity. That sounds like a perfect encapsulation of 2026.
It's about the French resistance.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
French
Yeah.
collaborators. Yeah.
Wonderful.
movie.
Love that. I love also the French Village. Mike, have you seen the French Village?
I started watching it during COVID, and I sort of just dropped off. Not for any reason. I quite liked it.
It's
I
really
think
good.
there's a good companion podcast that goes with it.
Yeah,
Yes,
Ben did a whole
with you
podcast.
and Sarah Longwell, right?
Yeah, that's why I actually watched the French Village is because of the podcast.
I
like
think I started it during the pandemic when we functionally were not going to work. And then in 2020, there were a number of things, some related specifically to what I was investigating, some related to like the death of George Floyd, that brought us back to work before a lot of other people. And I just, my days of spending 8 hours in front of the television did not last.
Yeah, I watched it and I was on Twitter then and I did like two incredibly funny tweet chains on French Village that are lost forever because of Elon Musk. But that's another thing. That's too close. We're getting too close to the
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk. Elon Musk is,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
authoritarianism
Yeah. So I
adjacent.
have something completely not authoritarian unless you consider
The
the
floor is
Louisville
yours, girl.
unless you consider the Louisville, Kentucky Police Department an authoritarian institution, which it might be, frankly. I don't know. But apparently during there's the storm, and Mike is frozen for me. Am I frozen for people or?
You are not frozen for me. I think
Okay,
Mike is,
well,
though. So we're going to
Mike
just
looks
ignore Mike until
very
he snaps
blurry.
back. Yeah.
Okay, he looks very blurry. Anyway, the Louisville Police Department had a little fun during the pandemic on their social media. And I don't have the previous, I couldn't find I think they took it down. So I couldn't find the previous full array of tweets, but I do have a sample of them. And then they have then they have another tweet chain of having to meet with HR about their tweets. That's also hysterical. Anyway, did you guys see this? Or okay, here's a sample of some of the tweets. This is while the snow is falling. If you crash tonight doing donuts in a parking lot, that's between you and Jesus. We're tired. The roads are
Excellent.
super. Here's another one. The roads are super slick. Visibility is low. And yes, Karen, your two-wheel drive Kia Soul is, quote, not built for this. Go home.
Wow. This was over the weekend?
Here's another one. Our plow trucks are out all night. Our officers are out all night. If you're texting your ex all night, that's between you and your therapist. Leave us alone.
All right. So I have a question about this. And so then they got in trouble with HR.
Yeah, there's one more, and then I'll read you the HR tweets.
Okay.
Um, on the scanner, someone just drove past 114 Adam doing 14 miles an hour sideways. Louisville, go home. You're drunk. So then apparently they got in trouble with HR. And so then, but they didn't stop tweeting. They did a whole tweet chain about having to meet with HR, which is also hysterical and for which I'm sure they also got in trouble. So they say, breaking, HR has set a meeting with the social media team today at noon. Chat, are we cooked?
That's pretty hilarious.
No, and then the next one is, apparently brushing off HR isn't an option. Wish us luck or don't. HR told us, bring our phones. We don't think they mean it the way we took it. Anyway, this may be our last transmission. Pray for us.
And was it their last
From-
transmission?
the one they're writing, that could be saying that their phones are being taken away. And then they have a picture of HR, and it says, with the words Human Resources Unit, and it says, nothing human about this place, to be honest, waiting to get called back. HR opened with, so, about the snow tweets. We said, which one? They did not laugh.
I can't tell if this whole thing is a joke.
I think it probably is, but it's hysterically funny. I don't think the original tweets, I think the original tweets were not sanctioned, but I think the HR kerfluffle probably is, but it's still funny. Then it says, HR is scrolling. We didn't realize how many tweets we actually did until we saw her finger moving like a slot machine. This is not good, y'all. HR said, give me the phone. We said no. They said yes. We said this is police property. They said even worse.
This can't be real.
And then the final one is good afternoon. The LMPD wishes to apologize for the tone of our tweets over the last 48 hours. Our social feeds do not accurately reflect the entire department or this community.
All right. Dumb question. Are there any comic tweets after this?
Yes. Which I think gives away the game. Because then they say, we got our phone back, chat. HR is fast, but we are faster. We are bouncing out of this meeting. Be right back. They were big angry. We can't take a joke in 2026, chat. There was some, shall we say, middle ground for both HR and the social team, or so they think.
All right, I'm calling bullshit on this. I think
Okay, but it's
Louisville.
funny. The
I think
tweets are funny.
Louisville- They're funny. They're funny.
The
And it's
snow,
not
I couldn't find the full chain of the snow tweets because they were
and it's-
really funny.
And it's not
It's
authoritarianism.
Holly, you have
It's definitely not because, yeah, those people would be in. What?
you have teenagers, right?
Oh, I do. They don't babysit. I'm sorry.
Do they shovel? I have
What?
I have herniated discs. I don't know any teenagers in the DC area. I am hijacking Dog Shirt TV to take care of my new house problems.
Mike is breaking up really badly. Mike, you're
Mike is
breaking up
breaking
really
up
badly.
really badly, but I know what he's saying. Mike
Is he
is
wanting
saying
to shovel?
he wants teenagers to shovel. Do your kids or anybody they know want to shovel a driveway for a family with a new baby and herniated discs?
Well, Mike, first I would have to get them to shovel my driveway. And there's no amount of money that my kids will do anything for. So
But what about
because
their extended network of friends?
maybe
Yeah,
maybe
I
so.
I will take anybody.
They would have to go up to Silver Spring, though. I don't know how they would get up there. So, Mike, I would love to help you, but I can't help myself even.
It's all right. We
I will come bring you cookies or something. I can't shovel your driveway because
no,
Yeah, because you have herniated discs too.
Yeah, John
Yeah.
Hawkinson has suggested I get a snowblower. they're sold out
Yeah, in the middle of a
everywhere.
blizzard. There's so
Yeah,
many of those
yeah.
everywhere. Yeah, there's just so much.
I mean, I looked online at Ace. I looked online at our local hardware. I looked
Have you
at
tried a
Home
hair
Depot.
dryer? You can just melt
Our
it.
driveway's huge. It's one of those. It's one of those big
I am
U-shaped
joking.
Yeah.
driveways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pro tip for next time. It will not help you this time. We also have a large driveway, and when there's snow coming, we park right down at the end of it, right
We
near the street.
so we salted the entire driveway, and we did park strategically. We didn't do right at the end because we figured that would make shoveling out more difficult when they plowed the street. So
The plowing stuff is gonna be there regardless of how far from the street your car is. Anyway,
yeah.
that's just my pro tip.
I also have
But
to, I also have my car is a plug-in, so I'm limited where I could park it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really wish
Uh,
I could help you, but my children are absolutely useless. Oh, I did see on LinkedIn, that place where people go to preen, except for Mike, who tells the truth. He's like one of 3 people who actually is real on LinkedIn.
Sandra of LinkedIn. I do want to
Well,
make
you're the only real human being on LinkedIn. Anyway, I have a former colleague who, one of those former colleagues who was briefly a colleague before their ambition,
yeah.
skyrocketed them into the ether, and then they became a whole different person who was more annoying. And his LinkedIn honestly sends me off LinkedIn immediately. I will not mention his name. But his LinkedIn is just really self-promoting and nauseating. And I did notice that he mentioned yesterday that his children had shoveled out 27 driveways.
Really?
Yeah, so I could tell you his name offline, and you could try to get in
That
touch
would
with
be
him.
awesome. Just text it to me.
Yeah,
And
don't tell him what I said about him.
okay.
Yeah. In
Although
fact,
I think his LinkedIn speaks for itself.
although I would point out that if you call him and tell him that you learned about him on this show, and he goes back and learns about the
Don't say
show,
that. Just
Yeah.
then
say that
he'll
a friend
then
of a
then
friend of a
this
friend.
then this certain colleague will be aware that Holly
Shit talk him.
thinks little of his LinkedIn presence, and that might hurt his feelings.
You don't keep me out of it altogether. First of all, he will, if he does remember me, he'll probably pretend not to remember me because I'm not of sufficient status to register anymore. And so that won't do you any good. So don't bring me into it. But I can tell you his name offline. I do not have his personal phone number, so you'll
I can
have to
track it
message
down.
him
I'm
on
a trained
LinkedIn.
investigator.
But tell him that you heard his children had shoveled out 27 driveways, and you've got a 28th for them.
All right.
All right. We have now spent 18 minutes not talking about authoritarianism. We've talked about the Louisville Police Department's Twitter feed. We've talked about LinkedIn, and we've talked about Holly's former colleagues on LinkedIn, and we've talked about Mike's snow removal issues. And we have
Well,
various notes from Jeff about how not to clear a driveway.
well, I
I
will
do
say
think
LinkedIn is authoritarian adjacent because it is very complacent about it, I will say.
is
LinkedIn is near. I mean, this is getting authoritarian adjacent because LinkedIn is near sociopathic in the amount of self
He was
whoa,
going to make a good
LinkedIn
point.
and
just
Rose
cut off
Mike.
Mike.
the real
Yeah.
world.
Oh, I know. It is the worst. I'm just like, what are you people? And then someone got pissy at me when I actually said that out loud. I was like, this is like Earth 2 here.
No,
Everybody's
LinkedIn,
just,
no. You're missing the point, Holly. LinkedIn just wants to make sure that in the new authoritarian environment, you have a job. It's not
it's true.
pro or con. It's just making sure that we're all
Anyway,
employed.
it just has this eerie feel about it, except every now and then when you see someone who actually works on this type of stuff or someone who is, has guts and will actually say the quiet part out loud, like Mike. But otherwise, it has this just like eerie feel about it. The only reason I go on LinkedIn is to like lurk and see what my former colleagues are doing and see how many of them have left and see how few of them are saying anything about what's going on or doing anything about it.
All right, I have a non-authoritarianism
Good.
agenda item, and that is, and it's going to make Nastia laugh if she's still awake. Um, it is the use of English words in spelled with Cyrillic characters on Ukrainian menus. We went to a pizza place last night, and there was an item on the menu that was called a shrimp pie, spelled with, if you looked at it, you would think it was, like some Ukrainian phrase, but all it was shrimp pie. And as I looked at the menu, more and more of it occurred to me that more and more of it, until I realized that all of it, that like none of it was actually Ukrainian words. It was all just English transliterated into Cyrillic.
And it
And
was
I thought that,
unintelligible. Oh, okay.
no, well, like it was completely unintelligible to me until I figured this out. Um, well, there was an item on the menu, rich bitch, which no, there really was. I'm not making that up.
Sure, that's not just the title of the new documentary premiering on Amazon?
Uh, Look, it might be that also, but there was Brooklyn,
Amazon, yeah, by the way.
Well, you know
and
what?
double pepperoni. Um, but the entire
What is
menu,
the rich bitch? Order that and see what happens.
it didn't look appealing, honestly.
Well,
Um,
most of them don't.
and
All right, we could have a debate here related to this.
Do rich bitches look appealing?
No, that is
Depends.
will be the most frivolous debate since Ben, I, and another unnamed individual had about a 2-month running text thread about whether hot dogs were sandwiches. They're not.
They are.
No, they're that's ludicrous.
Didn't side with Mike on that one.
Yeah,
You tend to be wrong.
Ben, this is the only position I have ever heard you take that is utterly indefensible.
Wow.
I'm just saying you're full of
Anyway,
shit on this.
what were you
Anyway,
saying?
we have to agree to disagree,
Yeah.
be pleasant about it, and move on to this even more frivolous
Yeah, so all right.
debate.
So with one exception, I think DC is generally an atrocious pizza town. And as a result, we use Goldbelly to order our pizza from other cities. We get it shipped on dry ice, and if you
Good
buy,
grief. Wow.
if you buy enough of them, it's actually cheaper than delivery. So we just buy like 10 or 12 at a time, throw them in our chest freezer, and then when we want pizza, we've got it. But there's a debate as to what city we should be getting the pizza from and what style. Because there's Chicago thick, then there's Chicago
But this is
tavern
a serious
style, there's
question.
New York.
I assume you're a Chicago style pizza person, Mike, judging
Yes,
from where
but
you hail.
what I really love is Chicago's lesser known pizza style, which is called tavern pizza. And it's essentially ultra thin, crispy pizza that gets cut into single serving squares.
Over pizza. I'll eat it, but it's like,
We have a newborn. The idea that you could throw something in the oven and
oh,
in
we
20
eat it
minutes-
regularly. I'm just over. That's why I'm over it.
Okay.
You know? I'm just like, pizza.
But no, normally we get Lou Malnati's, which is a famous Chicago deep dish place, and I discovered when I was in the FBI they would ship to Iraq actually as part of their shipment service because I became friends
Wow.
with somebody who was in the Marines, and believe it or not, on his deployments he would get just boatloads of Lou Malnati's pizza FedExed on dry ice to Iraq.
Oh, that's
And
how much did that
um,
cost?
Probably a lot.
how long did it take?
I don't know. I don't know.
Wow, that's a
And
commitment to
and
pizza.
in answer to Frank's comments, Pequod's, another great Chicago pizza place, also delivers nationwide. There's a lot
Wow.
of these options.
So
All
I
right,
grew
so
up without mozzarella cheese. There was only one kind of cheese in Kenya in the 1980s, and it was like a cheddar. And there was no pizza. My mother made pizza homemade with cheddar cheese, and and it was pretty good actually.
What's a
Um, real
Philadelphia
pizza,
style pizza made with cheddar? I
real
forget what it's
pizza
called.
with mozzarella was once a coveted delicacy for me. Since then, I have eaten pizza probably once a week for decades, and I'm kind of over it.
so I actually think, with all due respect, Mike, that the pizza question has a correct answer, and it is from none of the cities that any of us is from, which is that the best pizza is all from northern New Jersey. And and I just think it's a simple question of, you know, what's the mob presence in an area like? And like Rhode Island is going to have really good pizza,
Hmm,
and
interesting.
I'm just like, yeah, New York pizza's good, but I mean Jersey is better in this, and it's just really a function of the density of the Italian American community in a particular place at a particular time. What
And
talk
their
me out
mob
of it?
connections.
No, I think that's very legitimate. The reason I'm laughing is I know you're not checking in on the lawfare internal communication source while you're away, but we had an extensive conversation about New Jersey last night, wherein I rather insulted one Quinta Jurassic, and I don't know if our friendship will recover.
I would never insult her. I mean,
What
she
did you
looks like she
say?
would could hurt you.
She made a reference to being used to snow because she's a Northeasterner. And I said that New Jersey is more like the vestibule where the Northeast decides whether you're going to be allowed in. It's sort of like the other side of the velvet rope. Um,
I
and
think that's. I mean, with all due respect to Quinta, you could make the argument that that's Pennsylvania or Delaware, but
yeah,
New Jersey as the vestibule of the Northeast is not a crazy thing.
no. And then she rejoined that she went to college in Connecticut. And I said that doesn't count unless you've ever used the word summer as a verb. And it went downhill from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Personally, in a contest between Quinta and any other human being, including someone who is heavily armed, I would pick Quinta every time. I wouldn't mess with her. She's
If it's a debate,
she's a
she
little
will
terrifying.
win
I'm not gonna lie.
every time, which is why I resort to Snock.
You mean,
Yeah, I'm
do you
scared
mean
of
in a
her. I'm not gonna
physical
lie.
fight, Holly?
I'm she could find a way, Ben, is what I'm saying.
All right. All right.
I find her terrifying. I respect her, obviously, but I'm scared of her. I'm afraid.
Quinta's a teddy bear. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I adore Quinta, but I've never felt my life is in danger in her presence.
Well,
I
she's
will say,
intimidating, I
I
think.
will say that I agree with Holly that she's intimidating. Should I tell you the story of when I met Quinta?
Sure.
Sure. As if we could stop you on your own show.
I mean, you could say no, I'm not interested, and then I
And you
wouldn't
could
tell
go
you. But
on
I
because
would
it's your
text
show.
Quinta that, boy, Holly dissed you on on the show today.
No,
Um,
I didn't diss her. I respect her enormous.
no, no,
That's
no,
part
that's
of
what I
why
mean.
she's
I mean,
intimidating. Is
I
she's
wouldn't
so
tell this, but I
impressive.
wouldn't tell the story. Okay, here's what happened. So it's more than 10 years ago now, and Quinta was a junior at Wesleyan University, and she sends me a cold email out of asking me if I would sit for an interview for her senior thesis. She was going to be in Washington over the summer, and I have a rule that any young person who asks me for a meeting gets one meeting. And so I said yes, and then promptly forgot that I had scheduled this meeting. I think I wrote it on my calendar and I didn't remember the email exchange. And so the day comes along and I am quite busy. And I look at my calendar and there is a meeting scheduled with somebody whose name I don't recognize, um, who I sort of had some vague sense was some young person who wanted to talk to me. But for some reason, I assumed the name Quinta Jurecic involved a male, which is quite silly given that Quinta ends in an A, and A names that end in A, or particularly Latinate names, are preponderantly likely to be females. But I couldn't remember what the meeting was about, and I assumed I was going to be meeting with a young man. And so I go and I meet Quinta at the door, and I'm sort of surprised to find her female and invite her into my office. And I'm kind of I'm a little bit impatient with the situation because it's a busy day. And she starts interviewing me about her thesis, which is about moral theory and drone strikes. And I realize over the course of the first 10 minutes of these conversation that I'm talking to somebody who's smarter than I am. And the conversation goes from all right, I know I agreed to meet with you, but I'm busy, and you've got 20 minutes or something. I wasn't an asshole, but I was probably to, oh, you're somebody who is a formidable mind, and that I'm fascinated by. And by the end of this meeting, I told her, I don't know, we went much longer than we expected, or than I expected to go. And by the end of the meeting, I told her, keep in touch. And the following summer, she graduated and came to Lawfare as an intern and basically never left. I mean, she left briefly after her internship, and then I hired her back very quickly. And so the moral of that story is give every young person one meeting, because one in a gazillion of them is going to be Quinta Jurecic.
And Ben, that rule of yours also is the indirect cause of how you and I met.
That's true, but I'm going
Yeah,
to let you tell that story because I don't want to out the person in question.
yeah, no, just we won't get into where he is now, but you gave one of those meetings to my cousin, and through some weird set of circumstances, I forget what it was. My cousin offhandedly mentioned that he listened to Rational Security in its early days with his dog, and
His
the
dog?
with his dog, and for some reason
Wow, what a smart dog.
the dog was unusually well behaved whenever
And
Rational
no,
Security
and
was.
but the dog would howl when Rational Security was on,
Okay.
and would sort of sing. And
Yeah,
so your cousin recorded Rational Security in the background with the dog going, oh,
yeah, and you
it
guys
was kind of
posted it,
hilarious.
right, and you guys posted a picture of it on what at one point, and when I moved to DC, I went to, it was a Hoover Institute event, I think, that you were
Correct.
at, and I introduced myself as the cousin of the dog owner.
Right. Mike introduced himself. Hi, I'm Mike Feinberg. I work at the FBI. My cousin's dog listens to Rational Security, and that's how
And Ben
Mike and
knew
I met.
instantly who I was talking about.
Um, yeah, that's true. No, I think the every young person gets one meeting rule is an important rule for professional life for two reasons. One is because it's a convenient rubric through which to pay things forward and help young people, but also because if you believe, as I do, that all great professional relationships are based on mutual exploitation, you have to have a mechanism for figuring out who you want to exploit and who wants to be exploited by you, and who wants to exploit you. And having a rule in which don't you make have no mechanism of discrimination between, based on resumes or based on anything, knowing anything about the person except that they asked, is a really good way of having of just, it's a big wide filter at the top of the funnel. And then my rule is everybody gets one meeting. You get about 20 minutes to explain to me what you want from me and how I can be helpful. And if I don't know in that time why you should get a second meeting, you don't. Um, and um, I- and I'm pretty brutal about, like, not maintaining relationships with people who don't, justify themselves pretty quickly. But I do think having a rule in which the door is wide open as an initial matter is really great.
What's your
And
rule about middle-aged people?
They never ask.
I mean,
I
I
was
didn't really.
middle aged when we
How
met.
did I get? I just met you randomly, I guess.
No, you
Like,
didn't ask for a meeting. You poked me and invited me to a thing at the French embassy.
okay, well,
I was middle aged when we met.
Yeah, but we didn't meet in the context of you
Yeah.
asking for professional guidance or anything. Uh, by the way, the second time, or not the second time, but maybe the 10th time I met Mike at a Hoover event, which was shortly after Donald Trump came into office, um, and Bob Mueller had been appointed. So it would have been sometime in June or something. I asked him how he was doing, and he said, Trump's done the impossible. He's made us all like Bob Mueller. Um, which was one of the first times I learned that Bob Mueller had not been popular as FBI director.
It's not that he had not been popular. It's that, and this is actually the first chapter of the book I'm writing. Mueller got screwed. Mueller got sworn in, I think, 8 days before 9/11. And as a result, he had to devote his entire tenure to changing an organization that had fundamentally been about gangsters and kidnappers and bank robbers and kicking in doors, and a history that most employees were very nostalgic for and idolized. He had to take that culture and shift it into functionally an intelligence agency. And the FBI is, in terms of its culture, often calcified. That was not easy for him to do. And a lot, people who came in after he was sworn in had nothing against him, but a lot of the ranks of the old guard were very resentful and resistant to what he was trying to do. And then you have Comey come in, who, as a boss, is just charisma and empathy personified. And the contrast becomes even starker. So,
And just so that everybody knows, we're not talking about authoritarianism today, but Kash Patel has fixed all of that and has made the FBI great again. And it's going to be, put all of his predecessors to shame.
and I will point out that it is Wednesday, and I have already gotten 2 contacts from strangers asking for help in how to get out of the FBI and succeed in the non-law enforcement world.
Wednesday, you mean 2 this week?
Yeah,
And how many do you get on an average week?
1. But I think I know. I guess we're going to get authoritarian adjacent. The resignation of the agent of the supervisor who was told she could not open a civil rights investigation for the death of Renee Good, like that hit hard. They're like the or they're in a weird place. They're not being able to do what's right. A lot of them are being told to do things that are wrong. And they have a director whose every other press statement is about how terrible the FBI was before he got there. So it's like, it's like being in an abusive marriage. Like, and I've said this before, we didn't, I still say we, FBI agents don't have a lot of skill sets that at first blush are wholly transferable to the private sector. There's just not a call for covert entries and surveillance in most professions.
Well, there
All
are.
right,
I'm
shift
a
us away
former
from
FBI doing
authoritarianism.
security stuff.
What's
I
that?
don't know. I feel like there's more. It's more transferable than an Africa analyst.
Yeah,
So
no, but Holly, like FBI agents don't want to go work physical security. Like being an FBI is a really robust, intellectually challenging job. Nobody wants like being a
I
security
mean,
guard.
high up in security, like overseeing
The
like
market's
security.
flooded now
Oh,
simply because, like, I would conservatively guess that 30 to 50% of the senior executive service at the FBI has been pushed out since this time last year. Like, I have friends who were in the top 20 people in the FBI who took 6 months to find a job simply because supply so outstrips demand.
yeah. No, it's. I think that's true across the federal workforce. Actually, I know multiple
Yeah.
friends who are still there, who have been looking for jobs, trying to get out, and that's what they say. So, and it is really bad. I had a conversation with a friend at an agency that I will not name, not my former agency, a different agency, and I will not go into details, but it was I mean it is like it is horrible. It is
Yeah.
so horrible.
Yep.
We're
Just the
sliding into a discussion of authoritarianism here,
okay,
guys.
sorry. It's wonderful. It's LinkedIn every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to point out on the subject of LinkedIn that LinkedIn, you know, I always joke with Ev Gamond that the algorithm kind of knows me and kind of doesn't, right? It tries to sell me all kinds of fabulous lenses and products that are like, if you buy this microphone you really should own, and then it also really wants to sell me Eastern European women, which is kind of gross. But the more, like, I've been struck by how bad LinkedIn is at figuring out what kind of job I'm looking for. That, first of all, I'm not looking for a job, and LinkedIn really doesn't understand that. But then it periodically, like, discovers a job and it's like, don't you want to apply for this, Reuters position, doing, and I'm like, why that one? And the list of jobs that also, it thinks I want to be a translator. I don't have any languages good enough to be a translator. And so I, I I'm trying to figure out, like, what the profile that LinkedIn has created of me that it makes these judgments based on. But you can't see how the sausage is made.
I think LinkedIn is quite good at this because not a month goes by where it does not suggest that I go work for the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah, but isn't that like that's
I,
silly because that's
it's
like
amusing, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
you used to. I mean, it
All
could it
these like, go ahead. Sorry.
well, it just seems like if I could give myself advice, go work for the Washington Post, go
yeah,
work for the Brookings Institution, go work for Lawfare. I mean, you're always going to have a high hit rate if you base it on past activity.
yeah.
The 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 harder thing should be predicting the next job. I don't know. It
Well,
just
That is hard. That's very hard. But that's
along
why they
those
don't do it.
lines, and Ben, I've told you this. I don't think I've told you this, Holly. My wife and I combined Amazon accounts about 6 months into being married. And, I'm sort of skittish about getting into my wife's job, but just suffice to say, it is about as different from my profession and my
It,
personal background
it
as
is.
humanly possible. Um, and we still have confused the Amazon algorithm. It
Yeah,
like
I
we
can see
get the
that.
most random
Yeah.
suggestions and combination. Like I'm pretty sure I am the only person whose you might like page contained at one point both the complete theological writings of Karl Barth and a box set containing 6 edits of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like
There's probably like one other person. Yeah.
JD
I
Vance.
on LinkedIn, I keep getting like because I guess I don't know. I don't know what to do. Basically, I just wanted to establish some kind of presence on LinkedIn so that people that I might like could find me. I don't, like I said, I'm not really looking for a job or whatever, but just, to have like a presence on there so people could find me and whatever. And also so I could lurk and spy on my former colleagues. But because I listed like skill writing or whatever, I get all these like robot these writing requests that I'm like it's either a scam or it's some AI thing. Anyway, it's
see,
kind
but
of
this
weird.
is this is what bothers me. I mean, nobody on LinkedIn ever approaches me and says, uh, "I have a job available for the Bard of the Deep State," which
Oh,
is
Ben,
what
I know what people are
which
using
is what
LinkedIn for.
which is what Politico called me. No one ever, says. No one ever uses my projection skills.
You
Um, you
know,
know, I
I guarantee you, 90% of mine and Holly's former colleagues get hit up on LinkedIn quite often from Singaporean and Eastern European think tanks that want position papers on American policy. And they're not really think tanks, and they are not really in the part of
So what Mike is saying right
and
now
debate.
is that people get hit up all the time for by foreign intelligence agencies through the auspices of fake think tanks
Yes.
for position papers. Can I tell you, Mike? I have never once. I mean, Joseph Mifsud has never once offered me a small amount of money for a position paper on, for
Yeah.
example, the Russia investigation. I would be delighted to why don't people ever approach me about things like this? I'm
I don't
joking,
know.
guys. Don't
Quite frankly, I'm
I'm
surprised
not
I never have.
That's a deep cut. The Mifsud, that rings a bell. Is that the Carter Page thing?
yeah, not
Yeah.
Carter Page, George Papadopoulos.
Oh, right, right,
He
right.
was
That dude. What
he
is that
was
dude up to these days?
I don't know. He's probably selling used cars somewhere.
Man,
Um,
that seems like eons ago when the Mueller investigation stuff, when Like now all
Now
this,
it's premolar. Yeah.
that was like, this like seems like small potatoes compared to what's going on just out in the open now. But that's
Yeah.
authoritarianism, so we're not going to talk
Yeah,
about
we're
it.
not talking about that. We're just
Yeah.
talking about why LinkedIn doesn't recruit us for our skills. Um, anyway, I'm just saying anytime you guys wanna I also think people, there's no place to check on it for projecting on foreign embassies. I have unique set of skills in that, and no one has ever given me a bad rating for
Or
it.
dancing in a frog costume.
That's right. And the list of people who have both of those skills really small. And
Yeah.
among the Africa analysts, none of them have the same parody video skills as Holly does. Yet, how many times has she been recruited on LinkedIn for a job that involves parody videos and, a Swahili? Uh,
My LinkedIn, actually, all of my present sees it when you read it, it's like this person is has multiple personality disorder or something. Like this person is not. It just sounds so like, and I do this, and I do this, and none of them have anything to do with anything else, and that I do. And it's just like I didn't have the art on the LinkedIn, but now I'm starting to do more like with the art. Like I'm doing this like workshop with this democracy organization in Oklahoma, and so I was like, well, I want to kind of do more of that. So I was like, I better put like I'm an artist on there. So I put that, and it's just like it's such a jumble. It's like, who are you? You're just a schizophrenic, is what it is.
yeah, I think the thing about all of these algorithms is that they assume that your choices are going to make sense together in some, or that they're going to, like, if you like this nice brand of watches and this nice brand of cars, that will correlate with something. But if you're truly eccentric and,
I think I
like,
am. Do you
and
think? I
there's
think I
no
fit that though.
relationship between your preferences, it really does confuse the thing.
I'm gonna put on there that I'm truly eccentric.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap up a little early today because our next appointment is coming by here in a few minutes. We're going to be back tomorrow, but I'm not sure whether it's going to be at the regular time or not. So you're going to have to stand by and watch the schedule for that. And in the meantime, uh, uh, I don't know who the co-hosts are going to be for that show. By the way, I don't know who the guests are going to be, but I know that you'll be there, and I'll be there, and probably Holly will roll out of bed, and probably Mike Feinberg will uh, show up as long as we don't talk about authoritarianism. And maybe by tomorrow we'll be talking about authoritarianism again. Who knows? Bye, guys.